found something really weird about this. Nintendo is releasing games now that are $80 and $90. Is the big kerfuffle?
How many A's we talking at this point?
5 at least, maybe 6.
Quintuple
right?
A.
It's at this point we don't have a AAA game. We have an right, but like
you're just screaming because of the bank account.
Just screaming into it. But I think this was a long time coming. I have seen basically with this, we have been in a bubble of very cheap games for a long time. And that's because of digital distribution and the move away from physical distribution. Digital distribution is dramatically cheaper for companies to release games. It is insanely so. So because of that, the price of games pretty much has stagnated since Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo games were $60 to $80, as funny as it is. Like, if you go back to the 90s, that's how much they cost.
Yeah, those are in $90s dollars, which is really expensive.
It's about $144 to $150 US right now.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah,
so if we look at that, that's an insane amount. It's a wild amount. And like, I think the thing that's really interesting about this is that didn't change. That kind of set the standard. And some games on there were $30. Some games were up to $70 on Super Nintendo. And it's kind of stayed around there all the way up until now.
Yeah.
Games are increasing in price now, but it's not really just about production costs. It is also about the fact that the economy is changing. We've got a lot more inflation. The dollar is worth less money. There's going to be a moment where this has to happen. And I expected this to happen. I just didn't expect them to do it right when the economy was shitting itself so violently and everybody didn't have enough money to buy said games, which I think that's the misstep overall. The biggest pain is that people don't have enough disposable income in order to buy these games comfortably. So when they see the price hike, it's much more painful. And I think that's the biggest issue right now. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm curious because Nintendo's kind of like this special brand, at least in my head, because every time I buy a Nintendo game, specifically one of their major titles, all that, I just know I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I've never bought a Mario game and been like, oh, man, that was awful. Like, I loved Odyssey. I loved Galaxy. I love 64, Super Nintendo. Like, they're all bangers, like, every time I buy one. And so I think there's probably a bit more resilience in the Nintendo world than there is in other worlds. Because a lot of these new games you buy, you know, you're buying beta access. It's like half buggy. It doesn't ever feel complete. You know, you kind of get what you want when you buy a Nintendo game.
Do you feel that's still? Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I just feel like that's just it's a more known or understood experience. Like I haven't had a game where I bought it and I was just like, what is this? Like, this is just not a good experience. I guess I'll try again in a year when they fix stuff.
Yeah.
Like I did that with Cyberpunk. I did that with Call of Duty, every single Call of Duty.
Do you feel like that's going to be the case, though, because Nintendo has kind of eroded a lot of its player trust in the last year with the thing like the lawsuit against Palworld? That was very unpopular. There were a lot of people that were really upset about that. They were upset about the idea of patenting game mechanics. I know the normie player isn't going to give a shit about this, but diehard dedicated fans of like, you know, anything with Nintendo were very upset about this, and it changed a lot of people's minds about supporting the company. I'm of the idea that won't do anything to Nintendo at all. Personally, I feel like the normie is going to outweigh that entirely.
Yeah, my assumption is, at least my understanding of how Twitter works, is that Twitter is about somewhere between 2 to 17% reality. And so if you think that Nintendo is going to be like massively affected, I just don't think it's going to be affected by anyone but on Twitter. And I'm not convinced that everyone on Twitter represents their buying market. And even though you can be very upset about it, I think patenting game mechanics is stupid, and we've talked about this. And it's actually like bad business. But I don't think that, like, my kid's not going to know anything about that. My kid's not going to be like, well, I didn't want to buy the new Zelda because they patented that throw mechanic, right? My kid has no idea.
Yeah, so. I also think even if something is deeply unpopular, say in the West, right, and we're talking like Europe, we're talking the UK, we're talking the United States, we're talking Australia, I'm not seeing the same kind of negative sentiment or negative buying trends in China. And I'm not seeing that in South Korea, and I'm not seeing that in Japan, which is really interesting to me because it makes me wonder, like, those markets are dramatically larger than they were 5 to 10 years ago. Maybe it's just not a big deal if people in the West don't want to buy a game. I don't know how those metrics look yet. We need time, and we need to know how this kind of a price shift changes and how this kind of a price shift is accepted, not just in our countries, but globally, right? That's something that I'm really looking forward to on this and like waiting to see how that plays out. Because if it plays out where China really likes games that are at $80 and they don't give a shit, we're just going to stay at $80.
One would assume. I assume, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a curve, right? If you can make it 10% cheaper but sell, you know, whatever that is, that's 14 or 15% more, whatever, you know, depending on how much money, and boom. It's like they're just going to maximize the curve, whatever that is. And so I don't think there exists a world where they're going to be like it's only $80 because $80. If it flops, they'll make them cheaper. They'll sell more. They'll be happy. And
We've
if it
seen
just
that.
exists, they'll go for it.
We've kind of seen that though. Like this happens to Brazil a lot and happens to Australia a lot. Usually the prices of games in those countries are incredibly unpopular because they're just overpriced. Like Brazil gets priced out infinitely. It's why piracy is so high in Brazil. Australia has similar problems with that where like let's say that you have $100 US and $100 Australian. They're about the same in terms of purchasing parity, but Australians have, usually prices that are like 150 instead of 100, which is the biggest issue is they pay between 20 and 50% more than any other country, even though they've got the same purchasing power. So it ends up being like really weird when it goes to that too, because some companies just forget that. And Nintendo's kind of one of those. They've never been super, in terms of regional pricing, they've never been super on top of that, especially not for the consoles. That's been a big problem for those regions. So I'm interested
My
to see if
assumption
that
is the
plays out.
console price, the console itself kind of sets the price barrier for who's going to be
Yeah.
purchasing that. It's not just like any computer where you're just like on Steam and you don't, you're just getting like non cutting edge graphics games. Instead, you're getting something specifically designed that you've already paid. What is it going to be? $500 to get the new Nintendo Switch 2? So it's like you're already having a specific price point to all that. They're kind of pricing in who gets to and who gets to not do that. I assume that's all calculated in. I always just assume they know what they're doing probably more than they say they are when it comes to these things. They have some sort of internal guidance because I'd say like maybe 15 years ago, that would make sense that people don't have like a good guidance on what makes something good or not. But it'd be shocking a company this old still is like, yeah, we have no idea what we're doing. We just put stuff out and we get angry when it doesn't work.
I don't think they have no idea what they're doing. They definitely do. But I think the interesting thing to me is why would you exclude an entire market? I guess at that point, it's just an economic choice. It's like, well, we actually make less money if we pay attention to that, right? Which is kind of sad when it comes to it. I think one of the interesting ones in terms of price disparity right now is have you seen the prices between Japan for the Switch 2 and America yet?
$110 difference?
Yep. So it's
But it's like
$334.
it's a slightly different unit, correct?
Yeah, it's slightly different. I think it's Japan region locked for their version. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know if you can get an unlocked one in Japan for the same price. That's the part that's interesting to me. Does anyone know, actually? Has anyone heard about that? Because I haven't seen any literature for this to see if you can get an unlocked one for a different price.
Yeah, $110 is wild. It is a decent difference. Region locked also seems confusing. How does that work? How do you region lock a device?
Basically, it can only be used, like games that you want to play on it can only be ones that you get in Japan that are like Japanese specific region lock for that. It will not play other ones. They just set it up so that it can't function with those. The interesting part with that is their new cartridges are a digital download only cartridge, which they did do for the Nintendo Switch 1 for a couple of games. That was a thing where you get the cartridge and then you download the game, which I think a lot of people didn't realize that was the case, and they think that this is completely new, but it is not new. They had it in a couple of games on Switch 1.
I think it's a very interesting idea, this. You effectively purchase a game that is a key that allows you to download the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I assume this is some attempt at saying, hey, you can still have a physical copy, but you don't really have a physical copy. You have a copy as long as the internet stands up and they allow you to, because they could ban your account. I don't know if they have those type of powers. If you're inappropriate in chat, do you also lose your games if you get banned?
No. And that's one of the big things is you can play offline from the moment you download it. You just have to download it once. You only need a connection at the time you download the game, and then you're good. You just play.
And you also need a connection when you open the game for the first time.
Yeah, for the very first time, and that's it. You're done.
It just seems kind of interesting. It's a weird place to be because if you get a new Switch, then you still have to rely on that service having the distribution, right? And we've seen a lot of services just stop distributing. Like that's because it's a real cost. It's non-zero.
It is. I think the other thing that's really interesting about that is there are a lot of people that are really upset about that because they're like, oh, I hate DRM. But now you can resell your game still. If they went to a fully digital distribution, it would be cheaper for them and there would be no resale market. But they're actually allowing a resale market and eating the cost of manufacturing by doing this. I'm interested to know why. Because business-wise, that's not a popular decision. That is more expensive for them to do that. But
it feels like, have you ever seen one of those like splitting the cat kind of things where it's just like, okay, we have two committees, we have one committee, two sides, both have different ideas, so we could like go in the middle and it's the worst possible or the weirdest possible amalgamation. It's like, we want physical copies. We don't want that. all right, we'll just have the key, but you have to download it. It's just like, how did you get so weirdly in the middle of all of it?
Yeah, and you need the key every time you play the game, by the way. You have to put the cartridge in
Yep.
or you cannot play the game. So you have to keep it, and if you sell the cartridge to somebody else, they can then play the game, which is interesting. So it doesn't seem to lock to your unit, which is interesting. At least as far as we know.
Do you think do you think this is like a play to future-proof themselves against a lot of the regulations and ownership stuff when it comes to the EU and kind of rights to consumer? Because as laws and things are going to be pursued, that people are going to be like pushing more and more for ownership. So they're going to be like in this semi-ownership model.
That's kind of
so
how
it's
I
like
feel.
they're kind of future-proofing themselves a bit.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of talk about this of like you need to have, the unit needs to be, owned by the user or something like that. I don't think there's anything that's actually been passed for that. Nothing has changed there. So maybe they're just doing this because it's a simpler security solution. Maybe they wanted to have a physical device like a YubiKey style thing to stop people from duplicating the data of a game and then just playing it. I don't know if it's really about future-proofing in the market. I do think that is a good idea, and that's why I was like, that could work. That does make sense. I think it's more about stopping people from duping the game. I really do. Because
So
I don't know what it's doing when it reaches out.
Yeah, so you're saying it's like they're making it such that if someone is able to just purely copy the game in data, they wouldn't even be able to launch it due to you need some sort of like key unlocking system.
Yeah, and I guarantee,
dude,
I guarantee people are going to crack it. Like they're going to eventually.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. And the moment it does, it's all going to spill out. I'm interested in seeing like what is the actual technology they're using here. Are they using this like a YubiKey? Are they using it to just decrypt? Right? What is it reaching out to the service for? Is it actually able to be sold to another person? Can they actually play on the same cartridge if they go and put it into their Nintendo Switch 2? Or does it lock it to yours? Does it consume it when you do it? Because as far as we can tell, I haven't seen anything that says that it locks. I don't know.
That would be like if it locked to us, like then you
it'd be so
lose
bad.
the entire idea of it, right? Like then it's just like, what have you done? You made a purchase that I purchased a game for a specific device. Like if I drop the device, it's like I lost my games. I can't imagine that cannot be the fact.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not, but like again, don't know. That's what's interesting to me. I'm also wondering like we have so many tariffs going through. Nintendo actually just delayed it. Let me see. Switch to delay.
It's June 5th, right? Or has that? Did they just delay it again?
They just delayed it an hour ago.
Oh, okay. I missed the.
Yeah, for its new game console next week, the company said Friday it as it evaluates the impact of Donald Trump's far-reaching tariffs. So it's all about the tariffs. It's just talking about the tariffs as they go through.
They're expensive.
Yep, pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the U.S. will not start April 9th in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions, which makes sense.
Okay, so they may not actually. It still may come out June 5th. It's just that the pre-orders have been pulled up for a second while they figure out what it needs to be.
Yeah, so they're not going to start on April 9th. It doesn't look like they have an info on this. The tariff, I believe, against Japan in this case is a 24% tariff. So that'd be a 24% hike in cost, effectively. At least
500
should be.
A quick. What is that? That's gonna be like a $560, $570 Switch.
Yeah, that's gonna be real expensive. Like so, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Zelda looks really good at with the frame rate where you could play it. I mean,
is
actually, it worth $500 though?
This is another good question too. Are they actually assembled in Vietnam? Are they shipped from Vietnam? Because that's a 40-something%. That's an expensive one.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the differences with Vietnam versus Japan. Yeah, if it's 40%, I would just assume it's DOA if they actually have to do 40%, because I assume that the market that you're shipping to is dramatically smaller at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wildly expensive. Let me actually see what the exact tariff is.
They moved part of their manufacturing to Vietnam to get away from China tariff, but then they got hit with the 43%. Oh, interesting. Okay, to avoid Chinese tariff, move into Vietnam, then America tariff hit them. Damn, what a terrible way.
I mean, they moved it, and then it's more. Damn, dude. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing, is we don't quite know how this is going to affect stuff yet. We know that the cost of things is going to go up, but we have no idea how this is going to affect the gaming industry because we do so much in digital goods, right? But with a physical cartridge like this and a physical, console, that's going to be real bad based on where it's assembled. Like, even think about Taiwan. You've got chips coming out of Taiwan. If that is in any way assembled in Taiwan and then shipped from Taiwan, the cost would be dramatically higher. Like, it's dramatically higher in Taiwan. Yeah. Taiwan mentioned, let's go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This whole thing confuses me. I mean, I'm still just trying to wrap my head around just the idea of the cartridge. But man, this whole tariff thing, I just never even thought about that for the Switch because me and my kids have been gearing up, getting excited about this. We watched the Direct together. We're pumped up.
Dude,
I was going to get a couple of them so we could actually have like a couple of us playing together.
I've got the play for Nintendo. Nintendo, you have to build a distribution center in the McDonald Islands. There's only penguins there, and we only have a 10% tariff against those penguins. So it would only be 10%. Definitely, this is the play. I obviously get the penguins to ship it. It's perfect. There we go.
Penguin workers.
Yeah, we did a blanket of 10% on everything, so that actually hit the McDonald Islands. I think that's funny. I assume
also the Isle of Man, which has like 6 people
in it,
is also probably hit with the same 10%.
Isle of Man tariff.
Yeah. Netflix has some streaming titles to the Isle of Man specifically. That's how I discovered it, is perusing the various countries in which
I have no idea
streaming titles could go to.
Yeah, I think the I'm interested to see what Nintendo comes back with for the cost. At the same time that everybody here in the United States is tightening their belts, everything is too expensive. People don't have a lot of disposable income. You have the tariffs hitting at the same time, and you have a console coming out, which, Nintendo Switch 2, and it's already $450. If that goes up to $600, that would be surprising to see how many people buy that. And the interesting part to me is they wouldn't bat an eye if it was a phone at that cost. A lot of people would just buy it. That'd be a cheap phone. So I've brought this up ages ago. I'm still amazed that Nintendo just hasn't invested in making a phone.
Just throw a cellular chip on it, and boom, you got yourself a $900 console that people want to replace every year.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's the Nintendo phone. Yeah, it's hell yeah, dude. Like, imagine a Nintendo phone. Imagine if the Switch had good internet, anything, right? I don't know why it never has. The networking on those things has always been trash.
Dude, that's actually such a ridiculous idea to toss. If you could just toss in like a Verizon, or you have all the major cell services buy in. Oh my gosh, you could actually have $1,000 device, and people would be like, "It's cheap."
Yeah, they would. They'd be like, "Dude, I love my Mario phone. It's got like it's shaped like a Goomba. Like what?" Hell yeah, Mario phone. I'd love that, man. I'd love that. Oh, look, bots.
Nice. Yeah.
Very cool.
Very neat. Yeah, I've seen those ones.
We love to see those. There, we're going to do that for a moment. Then the mods will kill it. Yeah, we always get hit with bots. Gross.
I don't know how that happens.
It happens because it's really easy to make accounts on Twitch. That's why.
It seems like it. I get hit with them too often lately. And whatever that one place was that they're just that host hub, that was a thing that has hit me many a times at this point. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think my favorite one that I get every day is there's actually a bot that will come in and just says "Long live chaos" and then just like spams about casinos and like the deep underground.
Yeah, I've seen those just recently.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? And like I've gotten those, and we've had them for months, and we just like auto ban them, but they're just so weird. I'm like, what is that? It's like someone's like weird shit post, but it hits everybody.
I can't quite tell what the point of it is, because I'm like, I can't tell if you're trying to sell me something or you're just like making a statement about the world.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's like a really weird one, to be honest with you. And I don't know. I love that stuff. Isle of Man unemployment rate is 0.7%.
322 people. Yeah, there's some real people out there. Some real Isle of Manning. That means 2 of those people are unemployed.
And they get the Switch cheaper than us. Bastards.
It's just a real time to be a resident of the Isle of Man. You could get it much cheaper.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people are really panicking right now in terms of finances. Like, we can make it light. We can make a joke about this right now. But really, at the end of the day, do not be afraid. Save as much money as you can. See where everything lays down. And then start making financial decisions. Don't panic. Don't make a financial decision based on panic. I'm going to wait until I do anything, I have no plans to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 yet. I'm waiting to find out how much that shit's going to cost and what I'm getting for that money, right? I'm not just going to buy a console based on my Nintendo. I'm going to buy it based on, well, what games do I want to play on that? How much time do I have to play on this? Realistically, when do I need, a portable device to play games? To be real with you, I play a lot of games on my phone already, mobile, right? So
Yeah.
that's something to be interested in.
Yeah, I just never loved mobile games, but
Yeah.
at least all the mobile games I always play, I always just find them to be they're like oddly goofy. But
I
yeah,
like
it's
the
a weird time.
one-dimensionality
People
of it.
definitely are going to be selling and panicking and all that kind of stuff right now. I don't even know what to do. Stock market's crashing. Nvidia's below 100, which is like a time it hasn't been in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Crazy.
gonna give financial advice, but that's some wild volatility. I actually went on Wall Street Bets on Reddit yesterday, and everyone's like, "I did all this shit, I made millions of dollars," and I was like, "You're crazy, dude! Like these people are nuts." And they're like, "I'm sold this shit," like they shorted a bunch of stuff, and they're buying the dip and all this kind of stuff, and they're just freaking out about it. And then there's some dude that goes and he goes, "I did the reverse, and I'm homeless now," and you're like, "God, don't, God, like that's terrifying." And everyone's just like
Yeah.
F. It's like, oh my god, dude, it's terrifying. It's one
I
of the
just
things
go
like
with the
it's just gambling. Yeah,
yeah. I go with the Warren Buffett strategy, which is buy low, never sell.
it's pretty good. Yeah,
It's a good strategy.
and then you keep it till you die, and you never realize any gains.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
just hand it to my kids, and then they get all the gains.
and then
Thanks,
they
gaming.
also don't sell it, and then it
And
just
then what's the
continues that way.
point? Nobody knows, but we were all holding it.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone just holds. You hold forever. It's diamond hands until you die, and then diamond hands for your next generation. That's how it works.
The forever dying diamond hands.
Yeah, dying
We'll have
diamond
money
hands,
one
dude.
day, kids.
That's ridiculous, dude. Oh. So how do you feel about the idea of doing those keys though? Do you think that's going to be like the way that works is kind of like a YubiKey or something else? Do you feel that's something?
My assumption it's definitely like some form of YubiKey, right? Some sort of like, hey, give me the passcode. Does this work? Oh, it works. Okay, you're in. Right. But I am just mostly confused by I don't know why you'd want to own those. Like me as a consumer, why would I want to own something that if I put it into a device, I then have to download it? Or like so if I go like for whatever reason, I have because what was one of the big benefits of having cartridges back in the day? I'd bring Battletoads over to my friends. We'd first blow on it like 19 times, then put it into the cartridge, and then once we got it started, boom, we're Battletoading, right? Like good times. But this one's just like you can't even have that experience. Your friend's like, "Hey, let me borrow that game." You're like, "Oh, here you go. Now wait for 6 hours while it downloads at an incredibly slow pace."
Yeah.
It's just like, what are we getting here?
I'm not sure what benefit it has outside of security for the product, right? And the security for them specifically. Because, like, the only other thing I can think of is it prevents a really gray area market that's kind of interesting. Like, I have here this device, and this device right here allows me to play Nintendo games from back in the day. By plugging it in, it uses the original hardware. It actually does this. It's called an Epilogue. It's like the Game Boy. It's from Epilogue rather, and it allows me to play it directly on my computer. Awesome piece, really cool shit, right? This won't work with these new games. You would never be able to do that ever because it can't download onto this. They basically have to emulate the entirety of the Nintendo Switch in order to build something like this. Also, it means I can't take game data and write it to a cartridge and copy it to another person, which is something you could do back then with this, which a lot of people did. It also means that a lot of people who do modding for that kind of stuff won't be able to. I actually have a cartridge somewhere around here that is Mother 3. Mother 3 was never translated into English. It's a fan-translated version put onto a cartridge that I can play on original hardware. And it's all in English. That can't be done with this new tech. At least not until they crack it, which is interesting. So I'm waiting to see how the world absorbs this more. And I want to see more of how they handled it for the Nintendo Switch 1. Because the Switch 1 actually had games that were like this. Let me look up which ones.
Okay, so not all games are going to be like this, but I
Not
assume
all
this is the
games.
direction. You're probably correct that it's going to be it's a piracy play or security play or a few kind of future proofing on that world. Because maybe I mean either it's upcoming law play or both or security, and it does make sense as a reasonable way to fight piracy. Like if your only goal is to stop piracy, right? Like you're not considering any other factors. Then how do you bring piracy down to effectively zero? It's requiring some sort of key, some sort of YubiKey key. Not saying it's a good idea. It's just idea.
Yeah.
And
The
you
other
can
thing
stop it
is,
as long as they don't break it.
if they have a key, that key ID, and they do manage to duplicate the cartridge, I bet Nintendo has a system on their end that goes, this key is already in use. Stop it on the other one. And I think that's likely where that goes, is it keeps an active running usage of whichever cartridges are currently in use and then prevents the other one from functioning.
Yeah. It's a weird world. It's going to be I'm just curious if it's just going to be a huge pain too, because I would be really like unhappy if every time I wanted to play any of the games I wanted to, I also had to go find that key, right? Like if it's a requirement, not a just like, oh, if you want to have your game at home, buy the key, or else you can just run through our shop and you have the digital download version, and then that's that. But if I have to, like it's a requirement, I think I would deeply dislike that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that.
I don't either. It feels kind of weird to me. I think the other thing is it means that I am then heavily reliant on the storage space on the unit itself, and I have to decide which games I want to have installed or not installed, which is kind of backwards. I'd rather just have that be all on the cartridge. I have like 300 old Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games. Imagine having to download all of those into a device back then with the amount of memory that it had. That's ridiculous. The reason we have cartridges is to separate that from the unit. I don't think that's a good idea for that. I think it's going to be really annoying. Do you have to find a cartridge to use it? You have to have the cartridge inserted in order to use it. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have
it has
the
to be
physical
actively.
media.
I don't know if it has to remain in, but it does have to actively stay. But speaking of that, there is one other interesting thing that they announced kind of in this vein, which is also if you have the game, a couple of your other friends can kind of like link up with you. I'm not sure if it's like within physical presence and be able to play the game with you.
Let's look that up.
Without ownership. If I remember that correctly, I might, did I just make up something that I saw? Am I getting a Mandela affected?
No,
Game
you're
share? Yeah,
right.
Game
It
share.
says up to 4 friends can share their screen, and they can connect via a compatible USB-C camera, such as the Nintendo Switch 2 camera sold separately, and they can also video chat.
No,
seeing
it's
each other's
game
faces
share.
as they. Is that what you're talking about? So game share separately?
Yeah, game share. Yeah, let everyone play with just one game. With the Nintendo Switch trademark too, system you can game share to share supported games with friends and family, even if they don't have the game. Everyone can play together. I thought that was pretty cool.
That actually is cool. What is
And
it?
it might even
Do they have to be
work across-
local co-op, or can they do it remotely?
My guess is it's local co-op.
Local co-op.
But I love couch co-op, right? Like that'd be a great time. Like if me and my kids can just like get one game and we can just play as a family. Like that would just be so like that, dude. That's such a family W, right?
I'm
Like
looking
you
at
just
some
have a
chat.
group of people.
Yeah, this is actually
Household
kinda sick.
W.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I like that. I mean, that's the same thing that we get on Steam too. Like Steam actually has a system for that where you can share with friends. And I've done it before. Like I played like Wizard of Legend and stuff like that. And even though it's like people in Australia, it's like really, really good. I'm a little concerned about, is this in any way remote? No systems that can receive shared game. I'm not seeing anything that's saying it has to be local.
I'm surprised. I mean,
Local
genuinely, I'm
users?
actually
No, it
surprised.
has local users or online.
Oh wow.
Now, here's the part that's really interesting about that. Nintendo historically has been really bad with networking and latency. I'm
True.
interested to see.
Truing. That's a great way to wait for stuff.
Yeah. I'm that's a little bit weird.
Yeah. Someone's saying, I wonder if online means family group on the same Wi-Fi. Yeah, I'm curious, like how far online? Because honestly, it's like I'm shocked that they would just let any 4 people across the internet just be able to do that. Like if you just have 4 friends and you're spread across the United States or whatever. Like I would be shocked.
How are they? Yeah, they're not going to be able to resolve that. There's no way. Like Nintendo has historically not been able to do that very well, unless they've really advanced their networking stuff now. I'd be kind of flabbergasted, I guess, is the biggest thing for that. Game chat is included with any Nintendo Switch online memberships. So for the online stuff, you'll have to have an online membership for remote play.
Okay, so they kind of they can make up the quote unquote lost money of people not buying a game but trying it out with a friend, realizing that they don't like it, but they also have to have online monthly subscription. So they're like, we effectively can kind of pay for that.
It's $20 a year too. So the cost of Nintendo Online is $20 a year, which is cheaper than I thought it was going to be honest with you. It's $4 for a month or $20 for the entire year. What is the expansion pack? What? Oh, God, there's like tiers. Wait a minute. Why are there tiers? Hold up.
What are you
Bruh.
doing?
It gets wild. Hold up. So for 12 months for an individual, it is $20. Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack for an individual is $50 a year. 12-month for a family is $35. Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack for a family is $80 a year. What is that?
You get like booster. Oh, I assume it's just like you get these extra things, right? Nintendo 64 games, you get Game Boy Advance games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You get like all that kind of stuff. Animal Crossing, New Horizon, Happy Home Paradise, 3 asterisks.
I don't even know what that is. That sounds like, are they trying to do the same thing as like Microsoft Game Pass shit? Is that what they're doing?
One would assume.
That's what it looks like.
You get access to old games, it looks like. It's just like you get archive special, and plus you get some sort of extra stuff. Like you get Sega Genesis Nintendo Switch Online. You know,
That's wild.
that's what I always wanted. Sega Genesis.
All right. Here, I'm going to look this up to see exactly what a person gets. Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Let's see what this does. Well, it's not loading. Nice. Yeah, you're right. Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online. What is the full list of games?
My assumption, yeah, it's not going to be complete. I remember trying to look for Battletoads and couldn't find Battletoads in the Switch Online store.
It's like 30 games. It's not a small amount. It's got the good ones. We got GoldenEye 007 in there. You've got Harvest Moon. You got every Mario Party forever. Anything that says the word Mario in it. You've got Banjo-Kazooie, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Yoshi's Story. These don't suck. Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64. Good. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean,
something that's going to make people upset. I think Majora's Mask wasn't nearly as good as Ocarina of Time.
I agree. I don't even think that's a hot take. I don't like timed content, and I think it made me not like Majora's Mask. Shay loves Majora's Mask and would kill me if she heard me say that.
I have played many Majora. I've beaten Majora's Mask, got all the masks, did the whole 9 yards on it. Don't want any of it.
This also gives you a bunch of Game Boy Advance games, but this is all digital.
Yep.
And it also gives you, wait, what? It gives you Sega Genesis games? What?
Yeah, that's what I said,
weird.
Sega Genesis.
That's weird.
Like, don't you want to play some Sonic from 1997?
That's weird, dude. It's got Earthworm Jim and Ghouls and Ghosts. Yeah, no, they basically did what Xbox did, what Microsoft did. They're just doing a Game Pass, but it's for old games. They're Game Passing nostalgia, which is a bit odd.
Yeah, that's what they. No, I mean, it also just makes sense, right? You're targeting an older audience that statistically has more money, and will pay some low amount per year to be able to play some old games every now and then. Yeah, boom.
So kind of brass tacks the way that this goes out is I'm waiting to see if the American audience, Australian audiences, European audience actually absorbs this cost, or if they undersell in these regions. The U.S. is a little bit more interesting in that we have those tariffs going on, but that's the big interest for me. That's the big, I want to know. I want to learn some shit because China doesn't have that problem. South Korea doesn't have that problem. Japan doesn't have that problem. Japan has the regional version that is cheaper right off the bat. Yeah, $600 Switch 2. That's the concern. Yeah.
All right, well, hopefully there's not a $600 Switch. Really that would just change how much, like, because I would just dramatically spend less. Because I'm probably still going to get one. Like, reality is that I love the Nintendo Switch. I'd really like to be able to play Tears of the Kingdom in a really nice frame rate and all that. I will be sad when I have to only buy one because I was probably going to buy 2 of them. So that way me and my kids can play. Because I have to do, we have to go to Open Sauce. We have to go to all these different conferences and all that kind of stuff. And so it'd be really sweet if in the evening I can jump on there and be like, game chat. Hey, son, let's play some of these games. Let's play this and just chat and hang out a little bit. So that was like kind of my goal going into the summer is like I can now go to a conference and then play some games with my kids in the evening. I thought it was really sweet. But if they're like $600, I'm like, okay, now I can't buy it for like all my kids because that's going to be thousands of dollars. So what do we do here?
I think I'm not going to buy it. I think I'm not going to buy it. And the reason why, I have a Steam Deck. It plays dramatically more games. It's a handheld. I can still go anywhere that I want to with it. And I don't have to worry about any of this hardware shit where I have to remember where the physical cartridge is and do all that stuff. I just play it on the Steam Deck, and it's from my Steam library, and I don't have to care. For me, that is just a better purchase. It is a more open gaming market for me to have to, do, and I think it just ends up being a better product, right? And they already have all
Yep.
those features built right in without me having to pay a subscription in order to play with my friends remotely. The idea that I have to pay a subscription to Nintendo in order to add that as an extra feature when it's built right into Steam and the Steam Deck is a miss for me. Entirely so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't own a Steam Deck. I'm not sure. Does it feel good? Because like every time I use a Nintendo product, they always feel very good. They're very well made.
I was surprised at how weighty it was because like usually I have problems with consoles where like or handhelds that like my hand cramps up kind of like right here, you know? It's like too small and you get because they're too thin or something. But like the Steam Deck's like weighty, dude. It's big.
I
So,
got
like,
small hands, so it's okay. I could easily I probably don't have that problem.
I mean, all of you is small, so.
Come on, man. If I really sit up straight, I'm 6 feet.
Oh, okay. He's 5'12", Chad. It's upsetting, I know.
What are you talking about?
Wow. Huh? What was
Yeah,
that?
no. Don't make me smaller.
Huh?
I can feel it. I can't see it, but I can
I don't know
feel
what
that
you're
you're
talking about.
shrinking my screen.
I don't know what you're talking about. He's extra
Not extra
medium.
medium.
That's true. Extra medium. Yeah.
Stop it. I start crying on the internet. I'm getting bullied, everybody. This is what it looks like.
Is what it looks like. It's true.
All right, well, I got to take off, go rescue my kids. I got to go to Billings,
Yeah.
Montana, do a soccer tournament.
All right. I think this is cool to talk about, though. I think we should revisit it after they reopen on this and like kind of talk about it. And I also want to revisit it when they get sales metrics in because I want to see regional sales. I want to see how people absorb that cost. I want to see how the tariffs played out for a physical product and digital products overseas, right? And where they manufactured it because, you know, we're talking about it being put together in Vietnam, which is interesting if that's the case. And I just want to see how it all plays out. I think this is a really interesting thing to follow. And it is unprecedented inside of the gaming space and a really weird time. So I think that's quite cool. Yeah.
We'll see. I am excited about it. Either way, I'm excited to see what happens because I hope that somehow things just resolve magically. That's like always kind of my secret inside hope.
I don't know about that.
Like, you know, I can hope. One can hope. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, I guess we'll just wait. And if it does come down to it, I think Switch is going to sell dramatically less. I think online store is going to be bolstered disproportionately.
I think it would have sold a lot more, but it's in a contested market finally with, you know, other handheld devices that do the same stuff. And that's it, you know. All right. Well, you have a good day. And yeah, we're going to do more Hack and Stash stuff. We're going to start doing episodes and then putting them up on the YouTube. They're going to start slow like this until we get more of a flow. And probably do them every week, which is kind of the idea. Like stay on track and do them every week so that we can actually get those out there and put them up at the channel. Because now the channel's finally monetized. We only had to yell at YouTube for 6 months.
It'll be very exciting.
Yeah,
we'll see which one releases first, GTA 6 or first video on Hack and Stash.
Well, I'm going to throw this at Sunder right after this. So that'll be a thing. I'll be like, Sunder, please. And then we're going to put it up on the YouTube. I have to give him access.
They don't believe us.
It'll happen. It'll happen within the next like day or two. So that'll be a thing. Anyway, you head out, dude, and I'll see you later.
All right.
Cool
bye-bye.
talking to you. Say yeah.
Yeah.
Whoop. His mustache is not real. No.
It's real.
It's not.
I was born with it. My dad gave it to me. He handed it to me. Like, is it like Boko Blins?
No, like
Gobblins?
Gobbledy's nuts.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah.